Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast. We have the card, or I should say the best card of the year.
Without a doubt, hands down.
UFC 225, Robert Whittaker versus Joel Romero. Willie, start him off. By the way, this card is so fucking stacked that we decided to not only tell you guys the main event of this card, but we had to fall into the preliminaries.
Not only the stuff that's happening on FS1, but also the stuff that's happening in UFC Fight Pass, which is only the prelim. Because we have Clay Guida fighting against Charles Oliveira, and that's not even part of the prelims on FS1.
Let's get to it, bro.
So let's get to it right away with
Clay Guida and Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
So this is what makes this fight so damn interesting. I'm so pumped for this card, by the way, man. So the first thing is, Clay Guida has been on a winning streak.
Yeah.
Clay Guida has been finishing fights.
That's what's bothering me. That's what's bothering me. That Clay Guida having such a big fan base is not even part of the FS1 prelims.
I agree. I think when we get into it, you'll discuss more as to the reason why you feel there's a lot of fights in this card that could have easily been promoted to pay-per-view. So let's discuss this Clay Guida fight. Clay Guida is coming from huge victories. Charles Oliveira took a couple of losses. Is on his climb back somewhat. But the bigger rush, the bigger focus to me is Clay Guida going into this fight.
Right, but we have to also understand the person that Clay Guida was supposed to be fighting got injured.
Oh.
So this guy...
I know that.
Well, I was trying to interrupt you. Charles Oliveira is coming in with not even a 10-day in advance, so he doesn't have... I don't know if... I mean, he obviously is a professional, so he probably most likely is training. The question is... he wasn't training for anyone in particular, so... We have a guy like Clay Guida who's coming off all these victories, fighting a guy like Charles Oliveira who just came off a defeat. It's very interesting to see what type of Charles Oliveira is going to come into the octagon because he doesn't know. He had 10 days to study Clay Guida. I don't know if that's going to be enough, for him to like overcome this fight. And for that reason, I have Clay Guida winning this fight, and I hope Clay Guida wins because I'm just a fucking fan.
Well, we're a fan because we met him face to face, like picking everything, but. Clay Guida, the reason why not only are we fans because we met him in person, but the reason why we're such big fans is that energy that fucking guy brings. Yeah. Win or lose, man. This guy's gotten knocked out, gotten up, and then he ran around the octagon 3 times.
And did some push-ups.
His energy level.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and he's become somebody. You know, the biggest key thing, the changes that he's made. And by the way, this is just one card we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta say this is not only he continues to bring the same energy, it's the accuracy in his punching that has changed his game plan. I don't know if he's punching harder, but his accuracy is there, and his chin is still there.
Yeah.
Which, because he's one of these guys that takes impact. Yeah. So, anyways, we got Clay Guida. We both like Clay Guida. We both rooting for Clay Guida this fight.
It just gets better. We have Joseph Benavidez versus fucking Sergio Pettis.
Unbelievable, man.
This is the fight to watch. This easily could be for the #1 contender in the fight. If Sergio Pettis happens to win this fight, please give him Demetrius Johnson. He's the only person in that weight class that has not fought him that has the potential. I wouldn't say potential to defeat because it's so hard to beat Demetrius Johnson, but he's the only one that has the potential to be the #1 contender to fight against Demetrius Johnson.
All right. That's a little bit of a push, but then again, if you really look at that weight class, there's not many fighters in that weight class that can actually be put on that spotlight.
But not only that hasn't already forced Demetrius Johnson, and Demetrius Johnson has made them look like fucking nobodies in the octagon.
Right. I totally agree. But then you got someone like Benavidez. Benavidez hasn't been in the octagon. Don't quote me on this, guys. I think since like 2010.
What?
No. He's no. I mean, like I said, don't
okay,
quote me on it.
He's been on for a while.
He's been gone for many years. I think it's 5 years he hasn't fought in the octagon, in the UFC. He's been gone for a very, very long time. His last fight, he ends up losing. Benavidez is somebody who's so fast and so powerful with his right hand. He's knocked out guys lights out with his right hand. Fights that the people that didn't expect him to win with his right hand. Benavidez needs to continue bringing that same energy, and the reason why I'm going for Sergio Pettis in this fight, not because I don't believe in Benavidez, is I just don't know how Benavidez has been gone for so long from the UFC. To come back, I feel like the ring rust, spotlight, there's so much going on with this card.
And it's why I also have Sergio Pettis. I believe that, I hope he wins. I want a different competition for DJ. I don't know if Sergio Pettis has the potential to beat you, but I just want to see him step inside that octagon so he could literally say I wiped out the division, although he technically has already. But anyways, the next one, we have Rashard Evans. He's fighting against Anthony Smith. Now, this is one of the first fights in the UFC Fight Pass prelims. So it's really sad to see a guy like Rashard Evans go to the stage now. But for him to even agree on the fight and for him to even be put in that position, it really gets me depressed. This is a guy who went from the Ultimate Fighter and actually won a belt, and this is a beautiful story to be said about that whole thing. Same thing with Forrest Griffin, Michael Bisping, all these people that came from the Ultimate Fighter and eventually became champions. He was one of the first guys. It's depressing to see that for him to go fighting in these stupid cards, but that should tell you as a fighter, I think it's about that time to give it up.
Okay, so I'll make this one fast too, because the reality is Rashard Evans is on the downside of his career. I think he was bound retirement about 2 to 3 fights ago. He should have been considering 4 fights ago, and he should have retired 2 to 3 fights ago. But I think that the most, you see it as a sad story because he's going to be fighting in the Fight Pass preliminaries. But the reality for me is, it shows you the heart and will this dude still has to fighting. I think at this point he's not doing it for a paycheck. I could be wrong. I'm not in his shoes. I know he's filming a movie with Rampage. Which they're actually buddies, and it was pretty dope. But it's interesting to see him go back into the octagon, fighting someone like Anthony Smith, and see what he's capable of still bringing to the sport. And that's the sad part. I think at this point, even if he does win this fight, where does he go from there? You know what I mean? Is his climb back going to be really slow, and we're going to see who we're going to put up?
Maybe. He has so many injuries that that's the reason why I don't think age doesn't play too much of a factor, for me at least, for Rashard Evans. It's more about all the injuries that he sustained and how he's tried to overcome it over and over again. It reminds me of a Tito Ortiz, a guy that's constantly injured and he hasn't fought I wouldn't say a good fight, but a fight where he came into the octagon where he wasn't injured. Rashard Evans is going through the same exact thing. It's a fucking replica of Tito Ortiz, and I just prefer for him to hang it up because he's one of the greats,
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of that. But I still have Rashard Evans beating Anthony Smith. If anything, that's a good fight for him, just for the simple fact that he's gonna get back into the mix. Who you got?
I'm going Rashard Evans, man.
All right, cool. Let's get directly to the next one. We're taking way too long, but there's so many goddamn fights to talk about. Ricardo Lamas is fighting against Misrad Bektik. I don't know too much about Misrad, but I've heard very good things about the guy. I don't believe that he has a potential to be a guy like Ricardo Lamas. I think Ricardo Lamas, after coming off that huge loss, forgot the kid that knocked his lights out. He fights for Alpha Male. But anyways, because of that loss, I believe that he's going to come back stronger, and we're going to see Ricardo Lamas start to slowly but surely go up in the rankings.
I'm going to keep it simple, man. I got Ricardo Lamas winning this fight. I think he's the bigger name. He's the most experienced name going into this fight. And Ricardo Lamas, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last fight he took, he didn't take it it was somewhat of short notice. So I'm going Ricardo Lamas in this fight for sure.
Cool. The next one, another tremendous fight that's not part of the main card. Every fight we saw so far is not part of the main card. Claudia Gadelha fighting against fucking Carlos Esparza.
Why the fuck isn't this card in the main events, man?
This is a perfect female fight to put in there with the Holly Holm. With fighters like Holly Holm that is also fighting in this card. But let's talk about this fucking Claudia Gadelha, one of the best featherweights in the freaking business, fighting against Carlos Esparza, former champion. This is gonna be a fucking fight to. Don't blink with this fight, man.
Well, first of all, it's hard to blink in these fights because these girls are so fast,
they're
man.
Fucking.
so fast. The thing about them is they don't have high knockout power, but they're so technical in their fighting and their performances.
These two, especially these two.
Like I said, they're both very technical, and their performance is so high level MMA.
Yeah, it's so
like
much fun to watch.
When you go in and you start talking about women's MMA and who's on the come up, or who's been there for a long time but still on the come up, it's these two girls.
Yeah, they never stop fighting. They constantly climbing up and then losing one, climbing up, losing one. As we know,
they're always prepared.
One fought for the title, one was a champion. So, I mean, they're constantly in the mix. And between these two, whoever wins could easily go and get a title shot. Like, legit. Who do you have winning this fight? I'm going to be biased.
I know you got Sparsa because she's Ecuadorian. But I'm... as much as I love Sparsa...
The prettier one.
Well, yeah, definitely prettier. But I think she's also a younger, up-and-coming fighter who has the right camp behind her. Not to say the Sparsa doesn't, because goddamn, she trains with beasts. But I think this girl's up and coming, and the UFC's writing a lot on this girl to win this fight. And I have a feeling she's gonna perform.
I think Carla might pull up the upset. I really do.
I don't know. Is that considered an upset at this point?
It would be considered. I would like to think it would be considered. Although Carlos Esparza is coming off of a win, but I think the bigger name is Claudia Gadelha. So, the next one, we have Alistair Overeem versus Curtis Blades.
This is still the fucking preliminaries.
Still the preliminaries, guys. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, you want to say that? You want me to go first?
Go.
This is the fight for Bayless. Why is this the fight for Bayless? Because
Blades.
Oh my God! Sorry, Blades. What the fuck am I thinking? I'm sorry. The reason why this is the fight for Blades is because he's coming off 2 huge victories. 1, 2. He's fighting someone like Alistair Overeem, who he can make a fucking name for himself. Because right now it seems like you want to make a name for yourself. Alistair Overeem has become the new Roy Nelson in the UFC. Yeah. You have to get through him and then you can start talking about bigger heavyweight fighters in the game. And Blades has everything he needs to be up there. Talking about top 5 and top 5. Absolutely. He's fast for a big guy. He's very long and lanky for a big guy. His punches, he knows how to keep his distance. His punching range is amazing. His wrestling, he's so unpredictable. His takedowns is what makes him so great in this division. I think the heavyweight championship needs this, and I also feel like Alistair Overeem, even if he wins this fight, there is no climbing back up for Alistair Overeem. His chin is just caught up to him. Time has caught up to Alistair Overeem, and he's no longer taking steroids. The biggest downfall in his career was to take a contract with the UFC. He should have stayed in fucking China or in Japan, where he could have done all his steroids he wanted to.
I agree. I don't take anything away from Alistair Overeem. I do believe that he has a puncher's chance. I don't see him beating him in points, and for that reason, I got Curtis Blades winning this by either knockout or decision. Obviously, there's not going to be no submission. But don't blink, because Alistair Overeem might just throw a right hand that might knock him out. So let's just keep it. But I do have Curtis Blades winning this fight. All right, and that was all the prelim fights. Let's get directly into the main card. Again, this shit is fucking beyond stacked.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
It really is.
But it's fucking fortunate that this. I'm even gonna call this fight out. But this is the fighter who's in the freaking main card. CM Punk, he's fighting against a guy named Mike Jackson, who is his first time fighting in the UFC.
I think he has like three professional fights.
3 professional fights, first time in the UFC. If you want to put anybody against CM Punk, you did a fucking tremendous job with that. You really did. Do we really care to see this fight? This fight should probably not even be part of the UFC, let alone the fucking main card. It is going to draw this card some numbers, so why not put this guy in the main card? I guess
that's one reason, but also one of the main reasons is he's fighting in his hometown. This fight's going on in Chicago. CM Punk is from Chicago. Obviously, CM Punk is the bigger name, even though he's only had one fight and he's lost that fight. He's still the bigger name going into this fight. There's so many hype to him. the UFC wanted to have some people sit down and watch this or watch this on the pay-per-view. They did a phenomenal job in that aspect, if you think about it, you know. They waited for the right time to put him on the card. They gave him a longer layoff where he can train better. There's been great talks behind the Pettis boys talking about how relentless he's been and the growth he's been since he first started fighting.
And that's the reason why I picked him. And by the way, this is shots. We're now going into the realm of shots. Whoever loses is
this is predictions. This is predictions, and we're going into the fights.
Right.
So Willie, Willie ended up getting this first fight. You got CM Punk, correct?
Yeah, and you decided on.
I decided on Jackson. Why am I going versus Jackson? Is because we're talking about somebody who's a fighter and somebody who's not, and to me, it's a little bit easier said than done, right? So I got Jackson going into this fight.
You got it. The next one we have Andrei Arlovski versus Tai Tuisara. You picked Tuisara, and explain to them why.
Why I picked Tuisara. Tuisara is Bang Bang, right? So this motherfucker comes from Australia. He has the same energy. He has the same mentality as Mark Hunt. He's one punch away from winning every fight, but the best thing he has is a fucking chin.
Yeah.
If you guys see this guy in the street, doesn't look like a fighter. The guy has a belly that looks like he's never trained before, but he's so fast. He's so relentless. He has a heart of gold for this sport, and he has a personality that people can relate to. Not to take anything, away from Andrei Arlovski, because I love Andre. I love the fact that he's this old and he's still fighting at a high level. Perfect example is that Alistair Overeem, Andrei Arlovski. Arlovski just really know how to put himself out there, and he fought big names, and he's able to win beat big fighters. I got Bang Bang winning this, man. I think Bang Bang is a younger guy, and he's gonna outscore or knock out Andrei Arlovski.
Yeah. I thought the same thing to myself. I said, I think Bang Bang is going to take this fight, but I like Andrei Arlovski's chance on this fight because his movement as of late has been so much better. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there in the Jackson camp, but a guy like Alistair Overeem is starting to look, although he's on his downfall, I truly believe that the only reason why they're hanging by that thread is because of that Jackson camp. They have great heavyweights who are constantly training with them, but Andrei Arlovski's shown me a lot this last few fights, and I believe that he could win this by decision. I believe that he has the right moves to keep that distance and win this fight. I really do.
This is what makes this fight. This is what makes this a good pay-per-view card right there. They should have started off with this fucking fight. That's my personal opinion. I don't think it deserves to be the fourth fight in the card. I think it should have been the last card in the fight. But I mean, the first fight into the pay-per-view, if that makes sense. But it is what it is. It's still a great card. I got Bang Bang. You got Arlovski.
Yes, sir. Next one, we have Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson. I decided I'm picking Holly Holm. I believe that she's gonna come back. She's gonna go and take a run for that title. And if everything goes as planned, which is gonna be tough, another person that's fighting from the Greg Jackson is gonna be out there a lot in this fucking card.
John Wickle too.
Yeah, for real. Holly Holm is gonna take this fight, and is gonna prove to the UFC that she still has contentions on a title fight.
I love Holly Holm. I think she's great. The reason why I'm going with Anderson is I think to this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like people have figured out Holly Holm. I think they realize she's a true boxer. She's not there to take you down. Holly Holm's victories come from outstriking people, or that's a price right kick. I don't think that right kick. I think people figured out that right kick. I also think that people know what is expected of Holly Holm to do, which is keep the distance and just jab. She's a phenomenal boxer because she comes from a background of a true boxer. I think Anderson's going to go for takedowns. She's going to grind her out. I think the interesting part about Cyborg versus Holly Holm was that Cyborg decided, you know what, I'm going to make this for the fans. I'm going to stand and bang with her, which was a great thing to show you where Cyborg stands in the stand-up game. But I really believe Anderson's going to take her down and be like, I'm not going to give the fans necessarily what they're looking for. I'm going to go out there and win. I'm going to take her down and grind her to the last bell. I got her winning in decision, actually.
So I have Holly Holm. You have Megan Anderson. I think Holly Holm is going to win by decision, by the way.
I got Anderson in decision as well.
Okay, now the next one is very compelling. We have Rafael Dos Anjos versus Colby Covington. There's so much speculation coming into this fight with these two. Colby Covington has not stopped talking shit about Brazil. Dos Anjos. He's even going after Joe Rogan. This guy is in the media all the goddamn time because his mouth is getting him there. It was impossible for me not to pick Rafael Dos Anjos. He's coming off so many goddamn victories, but...
Hold on, let's say something. Let me just say something real fast and you could finish that. I picked him first. I picked Dos Anjos.
Okay.
Because it was my card. Okay. And you decided I'm going to be a dick right and I'm going to get him too.
Alright, congratulations.
Still not there.
Rafael Dos Anjos has proven that he not only belongs in this weight class, but he's going for that title. There's no way in hell that a guy like Rafael Dos Anjos, the performance that he's been putting on as of late, especially with Neil Magny, his last fight, it was tremendous. He just grabbed him, out-grappled him, grinded him to the ground, and fucking submitted him. He deserves a fucking title shot. The only reason Colby Covington is in this position is because of his mouth. I don't believe that him beating against Maia, a person that everybody has beat Maia right now. It's unfortunate. He's your Alistair Overeem, your Roy Nelson, like you were saying. Because after beating Maia, he goes directly to fight Colby Covington. I think it's fighting Rafael Dos Anjos. I think is completely bullshit. But because you're gonna get that title, you better come ready, Colby, because I don't believe that Rafael Dos Anjos is going to lose this fight.
All right. I'm not going to take away from your shine because I could not have said it any better. You could have not said it any better. I think Rafael Dos Anjos is going to walk through Colby Covington. I will say this. Colby, you need this victory because you're not liked very much. You know, you got someone like Conor McGregor who talks a ton of shit and has backed it up every single time.
So far, Colby, I guess you could say he has.
Right. But now you've disrespected a major part of where MMA comes from, which is Brazil. You have really, really set bad taste on the I wouldn't necessarily say the UFC. I think the UFC likes him enough. That's why he's on this fight because he doesn't. I don't think he deserves it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Being in the co-main event, I do apologize, but I think Colby doesn't stand the skill level that Rafael Dos Anjos is going to bring to him. Covington winning this loss could be devastating to his career. It would be interesting to see if when he loses, because my personal opinion is that he doesn't stand a chance, is how he's going to come back from this. And all the bullshit that he could still bring into the next fight and probably win, and that really will back him up a bit. But I do not see him win this fight. Like I said, I couldn't say any better than you. Rafael Dos Anjos is out for a belt, and Colby Covington is just on the way.
Yes, sir. So we both have Rafael Dos Anjos. It was kind of hard to not pick Rafael Dos Anjos, and it's not because Colby Covington's mouth. I just don't believe he has
this. He's on the skill level,
right? Not the skill level that Rafael Dos Anjos. But anyways, the last and final fight on this card, this fucking slamming card, is Robert Whittaker fighting against Joel Romero for the second time. Now, last time they fought, and I'll let you rock on this one.
No.
Last time they fought, Whittaker took the fight. The unanimous decision. The question is it going to repeat itself? I personally don't believe, but I'm just going to go ahead and hand it to you for this one.
All right. So this is the way I have it. The spoiler is I picked Joel Romero, but to Willie's defense, he picked Joel Romero first. I thought about it for a little bit, and the only reason why I gave it to Joel Romero, not because I think he's a better fighter, not because I think that his skill level is better in any way, shape, or form. If anything, if we taking both fighters, very busy fighters at the same time, there's a big possibility I might have gone with Whittaker. Problem with Whittaker's been out injured for a long period of time. Romero has fought 2 times since this guy has been injured. This sets the tone. Somebody's been busier versus somebody who might go into this fight in ring rust. Only reason why I'm picking Joel Romero. Joel Romero is a beast for somebody his age. His mentality is equal to absolutely none in this UFC, just because of his age group and the level of exercise and work that he puts into his fights. Not to take away from other fighters, but man, I saw him. He's a freak of fucking nature. That's what he is. If you guys don't believe me, fucking YouTube or Google his workout, his regimens. It's absolutely insane. I don't know what else to say, man. It sucks. It sucks because I feel like I'm not giving enough light to Whittaker, and Whittaker's been a champion. I mean, he is the champion. Excuse me. He is the champion, and we're not giving the champion his dues. Yeah. But I think the busier guy is going to win this fight. Someone who's been fighting for. He's just been busier in the last year. No.
I completely agree with you. I don't look at it as a landslide whatsoever.
At all.
But you're right. Whittaker he's been out not because he just wants to be out. He's coming off a really bad injury that has him gone for almost 2 years. Just like you said, Joel Romero has been busy. He's fought his last 2 fights. He had a tremendous performance against Luke Rockhold in his last fight. Stopped him in the second round. It was a complete KO. Joel Romero has what it takes to win this fight. The question is what Whittaker's going to come into that octagon. But because he's been more active, because he's been training healthy, Joel Romero has not been injured, at least that we know of. I believe he has the upper hand, and for that reason is why I'm going to pick him. Good luck to both fighters, but there's no way how I could pick against Joel Romero. I really can't.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you guys with you more. This podcast was a little bit longer than expected because when we started going down this card, we originally stacked.
Right, we originally said, let's talk about some news and
the main event.
Yeah, and then we were like, fuck, let's just do 225. As I started looking at the card, I'm like, no, this is fucking ridiculous. We have to talk about all these fights.
Yo, man, they threw everything to this UFC fight. Yeah, this Saturday. And fuck, we're crossing our fingers and nobody gets injured or no one throws fucking dollies through fucking buses. We really want this fight to happen. Sure, yeah. This is going to be the fight of the year. And if everybody comes out and does their job, this is going to be the card of the fucking year. That's all.
Hands down. You're completely right. Anyways, don't forget to follow us on Instagram on the Will Rock MMA Podcast. YouTube, the same exact thing, the Will Rock MMA Podcast. On our Twitter. And we'll stay in touch. Any questions, hit us up. Peace.
Thanks for the love, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.